Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani here. So the question in today's video is, do narcissistic people ever use reverse psychology? We're going to take that on in this video on this YouTube channel that looks at narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and how to heal from those relationships. So let's take this topic on. I'm not a fan of this concept of reverse psychology, but I guess we're going to use the word because it's what is used out there. But let's really talk about it in line with narcissism. So I actually think the term reverse psychology makes absolutely no sense. It's psychology, whatever it's being used for. So the term in and of itself is ridiculous, but people use it, so let's work with it. I suppose it might even be a little bit meaningful to call it paradoxical communication, or better yet, manipulation, because that really is, if you bring it down to brass tacks, what a lot of reverse psychology is. Reverse psychology sort of shows up as this disconnect between what you may want a person to do and what you actually ask them to do, right? So you actually want them to get rid of their purple hair, but you'd say, oh, I love the idea of you having purple hair for your sister's wedding, in the hope that their sense of rebellion will say, oh, I don't want to do what you want, and wash out the purple hair. Now, manipulation, it's a similar riff. It's when you attempt to get someone to do something that they didn't want to do, and then typically leave them feeling as though this thing you're trying to get them to do is good for them, or you're just downright passive-aggressive about it. Example could be, hey, listen, my sister's coming to stay for a week, and I know you didn't want her to stay so long, but here's the deal. It'll be great because now you can go and play golf, and she'll help me with errands. That's a benign manipulation. I mean, it's not that big a deal, right? A more problematic manipulation may be, hey, I think you should skip out on going out tonight with your friends. You've been so tired lately, and it makes more sense that you just stay home and get some rest. In a way to sort of isolate someone, that would be a manipulation, right? Another manipulation could be, oh, I don't mind if you don't come to the wedding. We know you're a busy person. We've been planning this since before the pandemic, but I know that a 1-hour interview in Baltimore must be so much more compelling. I get that. That's a little bit of a passive-aggressive manipulation, right? But these manipulations in reverse psychology are basically meant to motivate us to do something we may not want to do without a person asking us directly to do it. Now, people who try to make this so-called reverse psychology seem virtuous, they try to treat it like it's a motivator, especially for children. I'm not a fan of it in children. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of indoctrinating children into the idea that they do things only because they're asked indirectly or they're manipulated. Tell me that's not a setup for normalizing manipulative behavior throughout their lives or accepting manipulative communication. Some people would argue that reverse psychology is a way to get someone off their ass. For example, if a person won't help you with a task in the house, that you say, oh, no worries, I'll hire my sister's handyman. He is great and he'll get it done in no time. Something like that could sort of be a way to play on someone else's insecurities or on their ego, get them off the couch, save the money spent on the handyman. I get that. But if that's what it takes in your relationship to get someone significant to you, like a partner, to do something, then you've got bigger fish to fry in this relationship. Because in essence, this reverse psychology thing, it's kind of a form of shaming. Hey, you lame ass, I found someone better than you at doing this, and bonus points if the handyman is attractive, right? It takes shaming, if it takes shaming to motivate someone, methinks some therapy may be needed, and that's just plain forward psychology and not reverse. Now, reverse psychology is something that we may feel that we may need to do with oppositional people, people who are prone to acting out, people who are very stubborn. It's a way to get them going by suggesting doing the opposite. And yes, reverse psychology might work with narcissistic people. For example, telling them that, oh my gosh, I think it's great that you're going to play golf all day. It'll give you the day to yourself. If they really are a narcissistic, spoiling kind of a person, the idea of spoiling your good day may outweigh the pleasure of the golf game. They may stay home. The shaming part of reverse psychology can also really work with narcissistic folks. Things like, Hey, I'm totally cool with you not helping me and my mom get to the airport. Joey across the street offered to come with us, and I just wanted to catch up with him anyhow. The narcissistic person then may jump in, not because of any sense of responsibility or doing the right thing or because they care about you, but because they don't want Joey to make them look bad. So that's a place where the so-called reverse psychology can work with narcissistic people. It's interesting. What got me thinking about this particular video is I'd read something in the news about this idea of somebody who was using reverse psychology. And the term aggravated me so much. The article was ridiculous, but it led me to go down the reverse psychology rabbit hole. And that's what inspired this video. But it really led me to contemplate. It led me to wonder, though, for all of the narcissistic person's manipulation, it doesn't seem that narcissistic people engage in reverse psychology as much as you would think. They kind of hit the accelerator and go straight to gaslighting. I mean, sure, every so often they may try and convince you that something that they want is good for you. They actually do that quite often. They might say, hey, you've been wanting us to get a bigger car, and look, this truck has a back seat. That's not the same, because reverse psychology would actually be, hey, I think getting a station wagon is a great idea. I really do. Yeah, I know you don't want me to get a truck. You know, I was thinking about your parents, but no, I think you're right. A station wagon is a much more fuel-efficient idea. The idea being the person like, maybe I should get the truck, right? But for all of the manipulation of the narcissistic folks, the reverse psychology route is not the one they typically choose. For example, let's say a narcissistic person wanted you to come to a family event that involved their family members who are very enabling, but where your narcissistic partner gets lots of supply, and you had learned long ago that this sort of family gathering thing is not good for you. So a while ago, you said you can't go, you opted not to go, and you communicated clearly to everyone that you couldn't go. Interestingly, in this case, it's not as likely that the narcissistic person would use reverse psychology. They're not likely to say, oh, no worries, I'm fine with you not going. It's just going to be easier all around. Because first, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't get you to do the thing they want you to do. You're committed to not going. And second, they're not going to do that. They're going to be more likely to just yell at you. What the hell do you mean you aren't coming? My mother is getting older. They have done so much for you. You are so disrespectful. You're lucky that they even want you to come. So for how manipulative narcissistic people are, they tend to go right for the jugular or just straight out gaslight or passive aggressive you. That might be things like, my mom might be dying, my sister just got you a bunch of new clients for your business, oh, my ex is bringing the kids and I'm sure happy to see her. Or they might even say to you things like, well, I guess you're an unempathic person, or you never told me you didn't want to go. I do believe that a narcissistic person would mobilize this so-called reverse psychology, let's say in a business or a workplace setting with a client that they're trying to sell something to. Because then the outcome of things like closing a sale, getting money, getting validation, that would make reverse psychology a potentially useful tool. They can't scream at someone and get them to buy whatever they're selling. They might say something like, oh, okay, I can see that this doesn't work for you. Frankly, I have 3 other people on a wait list for this car, so I'm just going to follow up with them. And down the line, if you're interested, give me a call and we'll see what we got in stock. That would be a little bit of reverse psychology, like, oh, I could see that you're not interested right now. Now, so-called reverse psychology actually may not be a narcissistic person thing, but it may be more of a tool for people who are trying to mobilize stubborn, immature, oppositional people. Basically, people who are stuck in narcissistic relationships would use reverse psychology. But the narcissistic folks kind of don't need to use reverse psychology. They can just cut to the chase and eviscerate you for not doing what they want, or threatening abandonment, or whatever other manipulative tricks that they have up their sleeves. As I thought about this video, I know I've tried to use reverse psychology, and when I think about who I have done this with, almost invariably it was with narcissistic people or careless people. Things like, oh, no worries, I found I can pay someone to do that. A little shaming to get some buy-in. I'm not proud of it, but I've never found myself ever doing it or having to do it with agreeable, empathic, or respectful people. There just was no need. I also believe that reverse psychology is a tool that people who may not feel fully empowered in a situation may turn to. For example, people in narcissistic relationships. You may not have an easy in to ask them to do something, so you have to find a back door. But at best, this is a short-term strategy. It may get the bathroom painted, or the boxes moved out of the garage, or the family member dropped off at the airport. But it kind of makes sense. Reverse psychology is sort of almost designed to mobilize things like a rebellious teenager or a reluctant child. And the immaturity, and the way it works with people who are more psychologically immature, the immaturity is honestly in line with what we see in narcissism. But in the long term, reverse psychology is not a healthy way to conduct your relationship. It might get you a short-term gain, it might get something done, but it also might keep you stuck in a bad cycle. But let me make my point again. It doesn't make sense to call it reverse psychology. It's all psychology. And reverse psychology, at best, is basically a form of manipulation. And honestly, it's a form of survivalist manipulation that lots of us who have navigated narcissistic relationships have had to deal with. Hope that makes it clear, and I hope that was some forward psychology. Thanks again.